Okay, welcome back. Uh, so before we continue with Node.js, and now we're finally getting to the fun part where we're going to build an application. I again just want to go back and finish off the review of the HTTP request response play. I know I repeated this 3 times, but it's really important. So I found this nice visualization of how it looks like. So time is flowing downward here on this chart. We have the browser and the server. And you see, for example, when you type in a URL, the browser sends an HTTP request at this URL. The server sends back a response, which is some HTML. Then the browser is reading this HTML, and then, okay, it says, I need a style sheet file. So it's going to send another request that this time says, give me the style sheet file. Then the server responds, here is the styling file. Then the browser is reading that, and then at some point it reaches in the HTML code a point where it needs to load some JavaScript. So it sends another request that says, can you load this JavaScript file for me? The server sends back the JavaScript file. Then the browser starts processing JavaScript. So not processing, just executing. All right, the JavaScript code. So I need to execute this. And then there is somewhere in this JavaScript file, there is a fetch to the server or an XML HTTP request. Now this sends out another request, and now here the URL can be anything that you set, for example, data.json. And then the server will get this JSON from somewhere, probably from the database or from its memory, and then send back some JSON data. Yeah. This is again just text data, and then the browser can get the data and pass it to the event handler, which you defined in fetch, that needs to do something with this data, probably display it in the UI, right? Because that's what the browsers do. They're mostly about there for the UI, and the server is mostly there for the logic and getting data uh, to the browser. Okay. Okay, I think that's enough. I think you're getting bored at this point from this. So let's go back and write some code. Now I promise to you by the end of the day we're going to write a backend application, a real backend application. But until to get to that point, we still need to pass a few things. And the first of them is the Node package manager. So so the Node package manager, it's a thing that we have to explain, and I always have problems how to explain this, but I'm gonna start now from the very beginning and try to explain to you why we need the Node package manager, uh, instead of just telling you what it is. So forget a moment about Node Package Manager. We have here a simple Node application that has a function. Yeah. A function is add, and it adds two numbers, x and y. Maybe I should zoom in a bit. Huh? Oh, that's better, right? That's better. Yeah. It has two numbers, x and y, and returns a sum. And maybe this function also has a constant uh, that I would really like to know. It's a very important constant. It's the number 2. Yeah. Now, a problem that arises once you start working in a team and with more people and more complex application is how do I reuse code from other people? Now imagine that this is a bit of a joke function, but imagine this really complicated function and some really important constants that someone else wrote in your team and you want to use them. You know, it has this great function and I would like to use it as well. One thing I could do is obviously copy this and throw it in my file and start using it. But there is this is not very good. Obviously, if you have a lot of code, then copy pasting it, it's not going to be great. Uh, what uh, what actually is happening, you can do with Node. is connect two files so that one file can see the code in the other one and can use the code from the other file. And the way you do this is for example, you have a function or a variable that you would like to use from another file. Now in this file, what you need to do is to say, use a special word which is called exports, which comes with Node.js. And then basically this keyword makes it possible for you to use, for example, this function from outside of this file, and also to use this variable outside of this file. Yeah? So imagine now I have this file, it has an add and a to, and I'm using exports to make sure that this function and this variable are available outside of this file. And I have here a file which is going to use the code from the other file. I'm going to have them side by side so that you can see. I'm going to get rid of this guy. Yeah. Wait, now I have main on both sides. Okay. So this is the where I have all my complicated functions and my complicated code, and I want to use them from this file, which is called main. Now, part one is that in here, I have said that they can be used from outside using exports. Now, in the main file where I want to actually use them, there is another special word which is called require. It's also available in Node. And basically what it does, it reads this file, checks what is being exported here, and makes it available to use from the other file. And I gave this file a name, so I can call it, address it by the name of math here, and then I can use any function from it. For example, math.add. That's a function that I have here. I have exported, and now I'm able to use it in another file. Also, the constant, for example, math.to is a constant that's referring now to this value that's declared in this other file. Now, if I try to run main, I should see math.to, which is 2, and 2 added together, which is 4. Let's see if that works. I see that works very nicely. Yeah. So this is a very simple setup how you can reuse code from another file without copy pasting it. Yeah. This has many advantages. Obviously, if one file gets too big, then you can split it up into multiple files. And organizing code like this, it's really important as you start working on real big projects, because not everything fits in one file. I mean, it fits, but then it becomes too big to manage. Yeah. Now, this is obviously very nice and all, but what people have discovered over time is if I have this file with a lot of useful functions, I want actually not to just have it for my friends and have them use it, but actually I want to share it with all of the world so that everybody can use it. Yeah? And that's the kind of the idea behind the Node Package Manager. It's a repository kind of like GitHub, where everybody can upload their code, and then everybody can also use their code, use other people's code, using the syntax, using require to use their code. Yeah, so it's a really powerful tool, and you will see there are many smart people have uploaded really good code there, and we're going to use it constantly during this course, and also during your work. You're going to use it all the time. You will be in a situation where you will use other people's code, other people's libraries that they have written for you, uh, who do really difficult things. Uh, just a bit of wording here. So when you're using code from another file which require like this, usually this other file can be one or multiple files. It's called a library or a package or a module, and that's why we have Node Package Manager. Package refers to this other code that we are using from. So just to have an idea of the wording there. Now, how to use Node Package Manager? As I said, it's kind of from the code, it will be exactly the same, but there is something that we need to do in the console to set up a Node Package Manager. Now I'm going to do this once, and you can either do it with me, but then there will also be an exercise for you to do it on your own. So it's up to you if you want to do it with me or if you just want to do the exercise later on. So one thing that's really important is always when you're using Node Package Manager, start with an empty folder. So I'm just gonna make a folder here. You can use the console if you want. I'm a mouse guy. I like to use my mouse. So I'm gonna move into this npm example. Now, the way Node Package Manager works is you initialize your project basically in an empty folder, and then it sets up all the things that it needs to work with this Node Package Manager. And the way you do this is with a command. So npm stands for Node Package Manager. Init stands for initialize. By the way, guys, if you are worrying now, do I have npm installed? You do have, because npm comes together with Node. So npm init and then minus minus s. Yeah, and it takes a while. And then it set up this folder for use with Node Package Manager. Now you see when I say setup, what it actually did is it installed one JSON file, which basically holds some important information about the Node Package Manager. And actually the project that you are working on. So in this case, the project name was based on the folder. There is some version. You can add the description, but it's not necessarily the main file, and some other things. Now we're going to come back to this in just a few minutes. Now what I want to do is show you how to install a package or a library, as it's called. Now to do this, we need to find a package to install. So I'm going to open my browser here. By the way, if you're ever okay, so npmjs.com is the URL of the Node Package Manager repository. And here you can search for packages for something that you need. And now for the purposes of the demo, I'm going to install a package that we're going to use later on, which is called Express. Or maybe it should be something simpler. Huh? Let's see. Hello world. Maybe there is a hello world. Hello world. Let's see what happens here. Okay, actually, let's go with Express. I don't want to experiment live here. So we're gonna learn more about Express later. Now I just want to show you how easy it is to install. So if you search for Express, and here usually it shows you the command to install, but we know the command, so it's really easy. It's just npm install, and then the name of the package that you actually want to install. In this case, Express. Now this will take some time. What this will do is basically download the code for this library from npm repository. Yeah, and you can think of this as a GitHub repository. Maybe it actually is. I don't know what is the architecture. Yeah. So what this does, it does two things. First of all, it downloads the thing, so it puts it always in a folder called Node Modules, and somewhere here there is Express. Yeah, there it is. So you see there is some code in here, and a lot of code actually. Yeah, you see a lot of code that somebody else wrote for us, and they're letting us use it. Now, if you're wondering why there are so many folders in here, when we only installed Express, that's because Express is using also code from other people that other people wrote to achieve its functionality. And Express is a really big module, so it's using a lot of other smaller things to achieve that. And npm is really good in that it can install all the things that Express needs to run. That's by the way, these things are called dependencies in Node language. So npm makes sure that all the dependencies are installed for Express. Now that's the first thing. So it downloaded the actual code that we need, which is really good. And the second thing that it did, in our package.json file, it added a line here which says dependencies, and then it says Express. And it wrote down the version of Express that it downloaded, which was the newest available version probably at this point in time. Now you might wonder, why is this important? Well, it's important because if you now want to give this project to a colleague, you don't need to send them all the node modules because they're quite big and there are a lot of files in there. What you can do is send them, you're going to send them this package.json file, and in here it is written all the things that need to be installed for this project, for example, Express. And then they can, with one command, which says npm install all the dependencies that are here. Yeah, we're going to see that in just a minute. And there will be an exercise for this, so we'll practice with this a lot. We'll do this every lecture. So don't worry if you're not getting everything now. Now, once we installed it, I just want to show you quickly how you can use it. So I'm going to write, let's call this index.js for fun. Yeah. Now, if I want to use a module, I say const, and I can name it whatever I want, but I'm going to name it Express. Require. Again, I'm using require. And now I'm just going to say Express. And that's it. So now I can actually use the code from that npm just downloaded with just one line. That's really cool. Now, if you compare this to what we did before, I'm just going to put it here side by side. So the difference here is that this is how it always starts for local files. And if you have downloaded something from with npm, then you don't have this dot slash before the name. Now, to make sure that we have actually imported something and not just I'm just messing with you, I'm gonna console log and express and see what comes out. Yeah. Again, to run the code, I just say node index. Whoa. Yeah. So this is basically Express. It has a lot of functionality in there that we can now use. Yeah. Okay. Now I promised you we're going one last thing, and then there will be an exercise for you, and that is how we can we can take advantage of this package.json. So I'm gonna make npm copy here. Yeah. So now I will not copy node modules. All I need to do is copy index.js and package.json. Yeah, I'm gonna copy them here. And now I have here index.js and package.json. Now in package.json it says I need express. So when I go to the other file, let me go there real quick. Copy. Okay, now I'm in this folder. Now, if I type npm install, because I have a package.json file, it will read what dependencies it needs and it's going to install them. So if I run this now, it's going to install Express. Here it's going to create a module, node modules file, and so forth. It takes a while. My internet is not the best. Yeah, there is a node modules file, and there is a probably Express in here. And the package.json file stays the same. And now we have recreated the same structure that we had down here. Now, I guess one of your questions will be, what is this package lock.json? And my answer is, I really don't know. It's some internal structure that NPM uses. You don't really need to take care of it. You should not copy it around when you copy the project, so the package.json is enough. So when you upload things to Git, for example, you can always, and by default they are disabled, but you can always disable node modules folder, because you don't need to send it to Git. Because everybody who downloads your code can just run npm install and then get the any dependencies that you have from directly from npm. Okay, I assume there will be a lot of questions about this because I ran through it rather quickly. So put your answers, write them down, and on Sunday we can go over it one more time. Now I would really like you to try and do this exercise. It's really, I think it's quite easy, and maybe it helps clear up some things. So what is the exercise? How to show you this? Yeah, I'm gonna screenshot it here. Okay. Exercise.txt. There it is. Ah, maybe I should have made JavaScript after all. JavaScript. So this is your assignment. Word there it is. So your assignment is open a folder, make a new folder, and set up an empty npm package using npm init. Yeah? Then install a package which is called one-liner joke. Yeah, if you're wondering what this does, you can go to npmjs.com and then Google it and see what it does. I've written here a code that is going to use that library, and you can see you can guess what it does. But there is one line which is missing. Yeah. So you need to add the missing line here. You need to set up the empty package, install one-liner joke, add one missing line in this file, and then run this file. Yeah. So in the end, I want you to do node exercise.js, and this should give you a nice output in the console. Yeah, if I run it now, it will. I get an error because I have not installed one-liner joke. Okay, that's all for this part. So try and do this exercise, and see you for the next part.